Squawk.
Right, what is up, wonderful people of Sky Nation, all my Sky Bras? It's your boy Blue here, coming at you. We have some Madden 20 gameplay. If you're like me, about this time of year, once you kind of recognize that most feared is just not going to keep up with the most feared of old, you start kind of getting a little bit itchy. You start saying, what more can this game offer for me? And for me, is the franchise mode. I love playing franchise. Now, franchise has not been great for a long time, but it's been serviceable. And if you know what you're doing, I think you can create a very fun, very engaging franchise mode franchise, I guess. You know, you can create a fun and engaging franchise mode. I have a very specific way that I play franchise that I wanted to pass on to you that I think really kind of maximizes the realism that you can create within Madden. And just kind of the general funness of playing a game. So we'll just dive right on into it. Here's what I do. Step 1, start a franchise mode. Do it on offline. In the past, various Maddens, if you create cloud saves and you end up losing connection to the internet, your game will crash. It's a whole big thing. I just always play on offline. I can just play on offline. It's going to be great. I choose the Broncos. I'm from Colorado. I lived in Denver for most of my life. We're not great this year, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to do a fantasy draft. Now, some people may poo-poo upon the fantasy draft. I like being able to create parity within teams. I don't want to know exactly who it is I'm getting, and you may ask yourself, but if you're drafting people, don't you know who you're getting? And the answer to that is I do not, because I let the computer completely draft for me. I let the computer draft every single player that I'm going to start with. We're just going to advance to the end of draft. I'm going to talk about it. You know, I do this because I find what happens pretty much every time is I end up drafting super old players who are really good position players. You know, and I guess Madden does a good job. You know, it's kind of unprecedented because there is not really a fantasy draft. There's a draft every year, but it's not a draft of all the players. But I believe that if there were to be, you know, a big fantasy draft, all the NFL players just get put into a pool and the coaches just choose from them. I think it would go very similarly to how the fantasy draft would go, in that you would have the high skill, high room for growth players that are young go first, which right now is pretty much all the cornerbacks. Then you would have the high skill older players, I think, would go second.
Start your
Anyways,
by installing
so now we're here.
plan.
Now we have a completely random team. We've never seen what this team is. Let's take a look. Here's what we get. Here's what we get. All right. Now you're going to notice that we have no quarterback. We have Dwayne Haskins as our quarterback. Not great, but not terrible. Especially, you know, hidden development trait, my guess is his dev trait. Probably superstar. It's Dwayne Haskins. Let's take a look. You can check that, by the way, if you want to just go in here into player traits. You can check out their development. It's not hidden or a secret. So, just go changes. We didn't make any changes, but so we got Dwayne Haskins. He should improve very quickly by next year. We also have no left guard. We have no right guard. But we can probably move around some of these players into guard spots. Serviceable tight end. We have T.Y. Hilton. That's good. We have Frank Gore. That's not great. But halfbacks in this game, if you know what you're doing, halfbacks really don't matter that much. You can turn any halfback into an all-star halfback. You just have to be good at running the ball. Okay. I'm hoping our defense is really spectacular, or else the computer kind of screwed us. But that's all right. Well, all right. Yep, we do have a pretty darn good defense. All right, so we've got our good friend Casey Hayward over here, 29 years old, 89 overall, fabulous. We have a Mr. Senor Melvin, Rashawn Melvin over here. He's crushing it for us. We've got Geno Atkins. We've got DeMarcus Lawrence. Awesome. Both of those, I think, are, yeah, they're both X Factors. We have a serviceable linebacker core. We've got good old Landon Collins holding it down up here.
This is the development trait. This is the abilities tab.
I didn't realize Landon Collins was only 25. That's awesome. Got Michael Gilchrist. Marcus Gilchrist? I was thinking Michael Kidd Gilchrist. Never mind. Take that back. Marcus Gilchrist up here holding down the free safety. Yeah, this is a good defense. I can do with that. Special teams, it's alright. They're punters. They're kickers. It's wonderful. We do that. Okay, so that's... we're not quite done, though. Because what we're going to actually do... Well, we're going to do a couple things. Thing number one that we're going to do, we're going to go over here to gameplay sliders. We're going to change the gameplay slightly. We play this game on All Pro. I can play on All Madden. I can beat the computer pretty much every time on All Madden. I have to do it by cheating. I have to do it by using the game's internal logic to beat itself. I have to run a lot of really goofy, glitchy plays. I just don't want to do that. I want to sit down and play a game of football. So instead, I play on All Pro, but I use settings. I use Flazco's realistic settings. If you haven't seen those, check them out. Go onto Google, type in Flazco's, Flazkos. Every year he comes out with incredible settings for realism. He always sets the game on All Pro as well for his settings. So I've got those already imported into our custom sliders. These are what they look like. Almost for the most part, there's one setting that's changed, but you'll notice that our team, generally we're setting the skill a little bit lower for most of our teammates, with the exception of we are going to not fumble as much, I think is what that means. And our pass defense reaction time as well as pass coverage is a little bit higher. As far as computer skill, we are increasing their skill by quite a bit, but we are decreasing the wide receiver catching, as well as their capacity with which to get interceptions, which is amazing because interceptions in this game are just silliness. It's almost like playing NFL Blitz. Injuries set way higher. You know, I appreciate that. It's football. There are a lot of injuries. Penalties. We'll play around with the penalties. We'll kind of see how it goes. Flazco settings kind of changes the penalties. I necessarily don't mind adding or subtracting penalties to my game, but we'll play with that once we actually start the season. The one thing that I did change that is different from Flazco settings as far as the skill is the run blocking. I changed it from a 58 to a 54. What I was noticing on other teams that I've played this with, you know, they were getting absurd amounts of run yards with teams that really shouldn't get that many run yards. You know, if you have a good idea of what's happening in the world of football, you can sort of guesstimate these things. You know, when I think I was looking at a Matt Breida with a mediocre offensive line going against my previous team had an absolutely all-star line, you know, including Khalil Mack that I put in as defensive tackle just to try to stop the run. You know, would be getting 200 yards. It was just too much. Anyways, so there's that. Next thing that we're going to change, we're going to go over here to settings. We're going to go to league settings. And we are going to first change the quarter length up here to about 10 minutes. 10 minutes to 11 minutes is fine. Put your play clock time at 25. And I change this season experience just for a second to simple. I play on all manual season experience, but for what we're about to do next, we're going to want to change it to simple. We're going to change this to manual. Training, check. Okay. So now, what we're going to do is we are going to sim through the entire first season. And you'll see why we do this in a second. I'm going to skip you all of this. We're going to skip all of it. I'm going to be coming back to you when this is done, because this is going to take a few minutes. All right, see you in just a minute. All right, welcome back. Here we are. We've gone through. It's the one thing that it does that I always totally forget is that it just signs all the practice squad players. But you know what? They were on the practice squad, and we're going to do them a favor. So, looks like our Broncos went 6-10. That's understandable. You know, when you're just simming through stuff and you've got the settings as they are, usually if you change the settings secondary to simming through the first season, you're actually going to go a little bit closer to like an 8-8. Sometimes I've seen it up to, sometimes I've seen it up to like a 10-6. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sim the Super Bowl. Now what you're going to find is, once we get done simming through the first season, we are going to have the option to draft players. We're going to have the option to add free agents. We're going to have the option to re-sign players.
You have a player healed from injury and ready to play.
So we're going to go back here. We're going to go to settings. We're going to go down to not team settings. That's not what we need. We're going to go to league settings, and we're going to change this back to, I guess, whatever it is you want to change it back to. As far as your season experience, go. Those. Do we get any yearly awards? I don't think so. Yeah. And you're able to take your team and make it close to what it is you really want for a team. You can choose your free agents. I'll just let you know the free agents will always be the same, because when you go into the fantasy draft, they don't change contracts, but you might have known that already. So let's take a look at our team. So I believe Frank Gore retired. Pop on over here. So this is kind of the core, at least, of our team. We have a ridiculous D-line. Yeah. So this is what we have left. And we have all these wonderful free agents. And this is the point where this game really gets to be really fun. Is, you can sign players, and by the time it's all done, you're going to have what is a totally randomized team that you then created, changed, messed around with. And you get the opportunity to create something that's very personalized. So that's how I play. That's how I play Madden franchise. And I'm gonna probably play around with this. And that's probably gonna be a different video. I'm thinking we're gonna pick up. We're gonna do some drafting. We're gonna do some playing around. And try to create a great team. Also, just by the way, notice Dwayne Haskins is now 75 overall, so he's a moderately serviceable quarterback. He's got some throws. Yeah, he's all right. Lots of speed. 75, yeah. He's going to be an okay quarterback. Not going to be my favorite quarterback, but he's all right. So, all right. Well, that is how I play Madden franchise. This is your boy Blue signing out. As always, if you like this content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We have more content coming out each and every week. And thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Yeah.